Okay, we're back to talk about nouns. So just as verbs come with stems and endings, nouns also have stems and endings. First, we need to talk about the 5 cases or jobs that a noun can play in a sentence. If you look at the sentences I have here, the first sentence is the girl sang. In this sentence, the girl is the subject of the sentence. In the second sentence, the girl's dog sat. Girls would be the genitive or the possessive noun adjective. We would call that a PNA. It's an adjective telling you whose dog we're talking about. In the third sentence, I gave the girl a flower. Girl is being used as the indirect object. Remember, in order to find the direct object, first you would say I being the subject, gave is the verb. I gave who or what? Well, I didn't give the girl. I gave the flower. Does flower rename or describe I? No. So flower is a direct object. It's a DO. Now, the girl is the indirect object. It's to whom or for whom the flower was given. So this would be our indirect object. The fourth sentence, I love the girl. Again, we go through our grammar questions. I love who or what? I love the girl. Does the girl rename or describe I? No. If the answer is no, then it's a DO, direct object. In the last sentence, I sat by the girl. In this case, we know something about this little word right here. This is a preposition, which makes this a prepositional phrase. So if this is our preposition, we know that every preposition has an object. The object of this preposition is girl. So this is the object of the preposition. Now, in English, girl pretty much looks the same. So in English, the context tells you what job the noun is doing in the sentence. In Latin, it's not so. In Latin, the way we know the job of the noun is by the ending that's attached to the stem. So first of all, let's talk about the different cases. For each of these jobs that the noun can perform, there is a case. So if we're talking about a noun in the subject case, it's going to be in the nominative form. If we're talking about a noun as a possessive noun adjective, we're going to be talking about the genitive form of the noun. If it's going to be an indirect object for the noun, it's going to have to go in the dative case. If it is the direct object of the sentence, it's going to be in the accusative case, and if it is the object of a preposition, it's going to go in the ablative case. The next thing that we're going to need to talk about are declensions. Declensions are just families of nouns. If you think about your natural family, if you look through your family, you may find that there's a characteristic that's similar throughout your family. Maybe it's the shape of your eyes or the shape of your nose, or even in a family, if everybody is not related by blood, maybe are the same characteristics, or there's the same walk, or there's the same tone used, something like that. A family, things look the same. So these are groups of nouns that follow the same pattern. There are 5 endings in one row, 5 endings in the second row. Okay, if we take a word like the word for girl, the word would be given to you. The lexical form would be puela, puelai. And we can tell from this because we're always given the nominative singular and the genitive singular endings with any word. We can tell because it ends in puela, puelai, that this belongs to the first declension family. When working with nouns, there are some things that we've got to memorize. I think it's handy that we have 5 fingers because we have 5 cases. Something that you're going to want to make sure that you memorize are the 5 case names, which are nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative, which you can see right here. Also, corresponding with those case names, you want to memorize the function of the name. So that would be the nominative is the subject case, genitive is the possessive case, dative is indirect object, accusative is direct object, ablative is used for the object of the preposition. Now, once those are memorized, over a Latin 1, Latin 2 course, you're probably going to encounter 3 different declensions. Now, a declension is just a family of nouns. There are nouns that follow the same forms, and so we memorize the form endings, and we know that as long as we can find the stem of that noun, we know the form that that declension takes for the endings. So we'll need to memorize all of the declension endings. You want to memorize them. First declension endings here, so you'll memorize I, all with a macron, I, arum, is, as, is. So that's first declension. Make sure you have those memorized. This is a feminine declension. Usually all of the words in this declension are feminine. There are a few exceptions, and we'll talk about those in class. Next, we have second declension, masculine endings. I like to remember because it starts with oos. If you think of oos, 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 like a man with big muscles, saying oos, that will help you remember that this is masculine declension. Second declension, masculine. You need to memorize those. Oos, e, o, o. E, orum, is, os, is. Have those memorized. The last declension that we'll have to think about for right now is second declension, neuter. Now, it's helpful because the first ending is In English, you probably would say and the fact that it's neuter, it's not masculine, it's not feminine, it's neither, okay? So for neuter, the endings we'll memorize are, get out of the way, e, o, o, a, orum, is, a, is. All right, you want to make sure you have all those endings memorized. Now, let's talk about how we would actually form a noun. Remember, we talked about how nouns have stems and they have endings. Now, if we were given the word, let's say take the word for girl, which is puella. It is puella, puellae is what you'd be given. Those are the nominative singular and the genitive singular forms. Just like with verbs finding the stem, you go to the second form. The second form is the genitive singular. You would chop off your ending. In this case, it's the AE. Notice you can see it right here. The AE is the ending. Chop the ending off, and you are left with the stem. Okay, so now that we have our stem, which would be this P-U-E-L-L, remember, which declension is this part of? Well, which declension begins I? Are you looking? And if you look closely, you'll see it's over here. This is our first declension, ending start I. Okay? So what that means is we're going to, since we have these already memorized, be able to make any form of the word. By the way, this is the word for girl. We can just take our stem, which is going to be P-U-E-L-L. So I already have I. Next would be I again. Next one would be and the last one would be an A on the end with a macron. Okay, so I've done all of the singular forms. I've declined it in the singular forms, and you can see as this corresponds here to the different cases that if I was going to use girl as the subject of my sentence, so the girl sang, remember from our first example, I would have to put puella in this form. If I was going to use the second sentence, which was the girl's dog sat, or it could also be the dog of the girl sat. Of is a very, very good way to remember the genitive case. You'll never go wrong if you use the word of. I need to put the word girl in this form, puellae. If I'm speaking of girl as the indirect object, I need to have it in the dative case. The dative case would be puellae again. Now you may be saying, well, these look exactly the same. You're right. The only way you're going to be able to tell what job the noun is performing is by the context of your sentence, but it will be clear. We'll get to that a little bit later. The next case we'll talk about is the accusative case. If girl is the direct object of the sentence, I love the girl, I need to put girl in this form, puellam. And then finally, the last sentence we talked about was, I sat by the girl. Remember, I used the preposition by, so the object of my preposition is girl, and I need to put it in this form, puella. Okay? Now, it's going to work exactly the same way for all of the different declensions. You're just going to put on different endings, okay? So notice we did it for the singular side. If we were going to speak of more than one girl, I'm just going to erase the endings right here so you can see how simple this is. Remember that second form is where I'm finding my stem. So I have P-U-E-L-L. I just left my stem here. So if I want to say the girls sang, well, I have to go to the nominative form, the plural, and notice it is just the A-E ending. So it's I, puelai. If I want to say the dogs of the girls, possessive noun adjective, the dogs belong to the girls, right? I'm going to use the ending arum. All right, if I want to use the dative case, so I gave the girls flowers, I'm giving it to more than one, I'm going to use the is ending. And then if I want to have girls as the direct object, I love the girls, I'm going to put on the accusative plural ending. And lastly, if I sat by the girls or with the girls, plural, I'm going to put this is ending. So you'll notice this is my singular side here, plural side right here. Okay, if I were to give you the word donum, doni, you can see automatically because of the end of these two forms, the nominative singular and the genitive singular, the e, you can automatically tell which declension this noun is a part of. So take a look at first declension, second declension masculine, second declension neuter, and where do you see e at the beginning of the list? And clearly, it's right here. So this word is a second declension neuter word, which means it's not masculine, it's not feminine, it's neuter, it's neither. Now, remember, we need to find the stem before we can decline. So we're going to go not to the first form, but to the second form. We're going to chop off the I, and we're left with our stem, which would be D-O-N. Now, I can go ahead and decline the word. So it would be donum, doni, dono, donum, dono. That would be my singular side. Donum, doni, dono, donum, dono. If I was going to continue, if I had more space, I could do the plurals, which would be dona, donorum, donis, dona, donis. So now you know how to conjugate verbs and decline nouns. I hope you will study diligently, work hard, practice, 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 memorize all these things. I hope this has been helpful to you. Sawete, Discipuli.